I believe that if we are honest with ourselves, that the most fascinating problem in the world is who am I? What do you mean? What do you feel when you say the word I myself?
I want to fly the train! I don't give a fuck! Oh, jeez. Hey, what's going on, man?
You keep using that phone. I don't think it's what you're thinking of.
Oh, jeez. Hey, what's going on? I don't give a fuck! Oh, jeez. Hey, what's going on, man? You can't get out of this! Oh, jeez. Stop joining friends, you weirdo!
I think that I am familiar with the fact that you are going to ignore this particular problem until it swings up and bites you on the ass.
Psych, just kidding. My new catchphrase is, I don't give a fuck!
It's asking a lot to believe that the problem is going to fix itself.
Guess what, bitch?
Our technology and our numbers have both reached a state where inadvertently we can pose a danger to the global environment, especially through the atmosphere.
The whales have a 15-foot penis. Are you a pervert or something? Okay.
Now, nobody pretends we understand everything about the global climate.
I didn't cut out. You heard me. Google it yourself.
There are feedbacks, some of which you warm the Earth a little bit, and the tendency will be to further increase the temperature, so-called positive feedback.
What I'm saying is the planet's on fucking fire.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win. I don't give a fuck.
What's up, heathens? How y'all doing? I scared the shit out of you? I hope I did. I scared the shit out of KC. Xander's running to the restroom now just to make sure he doesn't shit himself. Anyways, what's up, everybody? I hope y'all are having a great day or great night, whatever in the hell. Tonight, we've got Tim Barnett of Stand to Reason. I don't actually know if he's still at Stand to Reason because this particular talk was taken down from their channel and put on his specific channel. So I actually had to do some sleuthing on YouTube today in order to find, in order to compile a really good clip of the things that we're going to be covering here tonight. And what we're covering here tonight are biblical contradictions. Now, in case you guys don't know, contradictions do exist in the Bible. There are quote unquote contradictions that can be easily explained and rationalized away just because of the fact that human people were writing them and shit like that. So there's that, and then there's real contradictions. Crap, you know what? I don't know. Oh, sorry, notifications weren't on. There we go. Now they're on. I'm so sorry, Daniel M. and Quentin, if the animations didn't make it It looks like I got the tail end of one. Daniel M with the super chat saying David says good night. He already went to Jeep bed. Correction from last week. It isn't Christian who is my favorite. It's Kylan or Kylan. He seems genuine. Tiffany and the cookout are going to do well. Okay. Let's see. Quentin says, sending my weekly tithe from work. Pour one out for me to catch the tail end of the stream. Well, tonight I have a lot of beer, and it looks invisible because it's it's Bud Light. It's nearly water. Yes, honey, it is. But anyways, contradictions. There are good contradictions that are actually contradictions, and there are some that Christians can easily rationalize around. And I'm going to point out some good contradictions that you could possibly bring up, because Tim thinks that we don't know any contradictions unless we consult the internet. But in any case, Tim is going to be laying out his defense of contradictions, and he's going to be showing how at least one really good contradiction in the Bible really isn't a contradiction. And so we're going to take a look at his defense of that. If you're interested in learning why these contradictions do exist in the Bible and why Tim Barnett is wrong about the one contradiction he tries to debunk, then please stay tuned. Ha! So, first though, y'all know what's first, huh? Yes, honey! Today I learned! So, before we get into the Today I Learned today, I do want to remind you guys that a portion of all revenue generated by Godless Engineer does go to charities. So last month we ended up choosing Camp Courageous, and they're a camp that provides what do they do, hon? We got a new member. Right. I was waiting for the thing to stop. We got a Neuter Dude who became a globe head. What's up there, Neuter Dude? So basically it's a camp that is for people with developmental disabilities, and they help them. Sorry. Right. It's in Iowa. It helps people with developmental disabilities. They're a camp. They provide a whole bunch of services for people with developmental disabilities. And what we did was we contributed to the campership fund. And basically what the campership fund is it's this big pot of money that if anybody that wants to go to Camp Courageous but financially is unable to go, they can apply to use money from that fund. And so basically we're helping send people to the camp that otherwise wouldn't be able to go to the camp due to financial restrictions. So that's where the July savings went, or the July portion of the revenue generated by GE here. The revenue generated by GE is done by the people just watching the content here, doing the super chats, and becoming Skeptic Mafia members like Neuter Dude, Quentin Van Boeven, and Daniel M have done. And just in general, liking and sharing the content here helps generate all this wonderful stuff for the charities that we're going to donate to. And I do believe we've already picked this month's charity, and that's going to be Engineers Without Borders. So Engineers Without Borders, they got a really good rating on Charity Navigator. They go into countries and they try to help out those that are less fortunate. They try to engineer different solutions for problems that they have. Basic human needs, that is. Water filtration and various projects to fulfill their basic needs. And so we're going to be helping them out this month. So if you want to help us donate to Engineers Without Borders, definitely consider sending a super chat during the stream tonight. Definitely consider becoming a Skeptic Mafia member. A portion of all the Skeptic Mafia memberships goes to helping the charities that we select. So I hope that you guys will consider all that. And let's go on ahead and get right into the Today I Learned. Today I learned, honey. I don't know if you know this, but the Busch beer was created to spite Major League Baseball. The St. Louis Cardinals owner, August Busch Jr., was told by the MLB he couldn't name their ballpark Budweiser Stadium. So he's like, fuck y'all, and he got approval to name it after his family and then ordered his brewers to create the new beer. Fuck the MLB, I guess. All right. You gotta love beer. Although creating a whole brand of beer just to be able to name the stadium after a beer is it's an interesting way to go. Look at the asexual atheist.
May the power of Christ compel you to get the fuck out of here.
You got the asexual atheist that says this community rocks. Hashtag Star Trek. Trekkie on your side. That's 1 point to the Trekkers, and so far 0 for Star Wars. We'll see where we end up by the end of the night. Star Wars is a 0. Thank you, honey. You keep talking, and I'll bring that mic over there. Yep. Okay. Let's see. What's next? Next up on Today I Learned that working more than 50 hours a week makes you less productive. So just keep that in mind. Try to keep it under 50 hours, guys, okay? Otherwise, you're just piddling around, not doing shit. You know, laying on the couch, sleeping while you should be working. Oh, KC's gonna fuck me up, guys. Next on Today I Learned, on Today I Learned that a Brazilian company reverse engineered the Nintendo Entertainment System and produced a clone that could play official cartridges since it was never released there. Nintendo asked them to cease, but because they designed their own hardware and Nintendo had no presence in Brazil, it was totally legal.
Just a little bit of money.
Drew's Book Reviews saying hashtag Star Trek is like KC. Awesome. All around GE is okay. 2 Star Trek, 0 Star Wars. Lucrezia Cosplay says, KC, I'll vote Star Trek if you get GE a shot like
Timothy,
last time.
what the fuck ever? Shut the fuck up.
Apparently, I am barred from doing shots while on stream. I'm so sorry. Luckily, I never promised that at the beginning. But thank you. Still, Lucrezia. I think I'm saying it right. I think I am. Lucrezia. I think that's right. Watch it. I'm butchering it, not even knowing it, and it's like nails on a chalkboard to Lucrezia that's in the chat right now, I'm sure. All right. We got a number of comments to go through tonight. Of course, need to come up with an animation for this. I always say this every single week, and I always get so full up of other shit that I never do it. But anyways, comments of the day. Prepare to face bomb yourself in the next week. Booyah. Yeah. That's what 4 years of band class gets you right there. Just perfection on the uke. Okay, I want to start out with a little bit of a sensitive topic that I feel like it's important to talk about. So, everybody knows Ashley Babbitt. Ashley Babbitt, sadly, bought into the whole right-wing conspiracy theories about Trump and the election and everything like that. And was led to believe that she was doing her patriotic duty and stormed the Capitol, which resulted in her death. And it's a really sad situation. I hate that happened. and I'm sure that everybody, you know, feels for somebody succumbing to the right wing Trumper cult out there and end up losing their life because of it. Kind of it makes, you know, all of that a lot more important, like fighting against that kind of thought process, right? Let's see. Alex Baranowski says, when you say uke, I think you mean eucalyptus. Hashtag plant nerd.
Listen, donating this much money only secures your seat in hell.
And then Neuter
May the
Dude's
power
coming
of
in,
Christ
getting
compel you to get
exercised
the
by
fuck out of
Brocephus
here.
over there, saying, watch out for Star Wars Trek on the way to the Star
Dude,
Trek
Timothy,
Wars,
what the
lol,
fuck ever, shut the
Futurama,
fuck up.
baby. Gary White says, Jane's surgery went well yesterday, but Star Trek is not life and does not index, but Star Wars is life and indexes at 100. I don't know how to take that. Indexing at 100 would be... yeah. So does that count? Yeah. He said Star Trek is not life, so I don't know how to take that, Gary. You feel like you're teetering on the edge there. Anyway, so Ashley Babbitt, back to Ashley Babbitt here. Anyways, her family is suing the Capitol Police for $10 million in a wrongful death suit. And their attorney, the reason why I'm bringing this up is that their attorney says she was ambushed by the officer who shot her and was given no warning or verbal command. Now, I'm obviously not going to play the video of her charging through the broken glass and in order to get into the Capitol there. I'm not going to play that because obviously I'm not going to do that, but I do believe the warning were the repeated warnings given by the police officer, but also the locked fucking door and the glass that they had to break in order for her to vault herself through it. I do believe that if you're amongst the crowd looking to perform an insurrection on our current government, and you're beating down a locked door in the Capitol with Capitol Police on the other side of said locked door. Well, yeah, not to mention you broke into the Capitol to even get into that place, to get to that spot. But also, they had their guns drawn, pointing at the door. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry that she died. I'm really sorry that she got sucked into the Trump cult and was led to her death, essentially. But that is not an ambush. All right? I mean, basically, she was committing a crime. I mean, people are being rounded up and charged with crimes. And it was a giant crowd, and they started piling through the broken window. And I mean, what do you expect them to do? It amazes me. And like I said, I really hate that she got sucked into all of it and she lost her life. But I think that it's just kind of a frivolous lawsuit to try to say that she was ambushed. It's totally ridiculous. You're right, honey. All right, so something a little bit less serious now for the rest of the time. I just I saw that right before the stream tonight, and I just had to get it off my chest. It was just eating at me. Anyways, so this guy Marvin decided to respond to Randall Rouser, who was interacting with me at the beginning or about middle of last month. Randall and I kind of had a back and forth a little bit on Twitter. Anyways, this person so ingeniously says, "Can you trust an engineer that denies his God? AJ, that what is his prime mover at the forefront of his thinking? E.g. that, what is his prime mover at the forefront of his thinking?" Well, I mean, obviously it's not God. God's not the prime. The prime mover is such an old concept. It reaches all the way back to Thomas Aquinas, probably even before that. Well, currently, right now, we know that it's just as natural for an object to be at rest as it is for it to move in a direction at a constant speed. We don't need a prime mover. So, but anyways, that's not even that's it. That's regardless of the point. Can you trust an engineer that denies God? Yes, you can. Because any engineer is going to look at anything that supposedly God designed and is going to be like, you know what? If God designed this shit, he's a shitty designer. I mean, I would not put that thing next to that thing. I mean, that. Your butthole next to your fun hole. KC. That should be one of those meme quotes. Like, who would put the butthole next to the fun hole? Casey. No, that's not. It's fooled people into thinking they should eat ass. Oh, anyways, yeah, so I don't think that any engineer would really be able to look at like the human body and be like, yeah, God did that shit. The most perfect being in the world, the most perfect engineer definitely put the eating tube and the air tube and everything like that all right there together so that you could basically die in your sleep because of, throwing up or reasons or, Jack Daniels. Because you got so drunk you vomited and then your air hole got plugged up because you were. Anyways, God doesn't like alcohol apparently. So I don't understand people like this. Women, you don't. let me read it appropriately here. Women, you don't need college. You need faith, a Bible, and a good cookbook. At first I couldn't see the commas. And I was like, you also need basic fucking English. But no, she's got commas there. Regardless of all that, though, you don't need faith and you don't need a Bible. And I mean, a good cookbook, maybe. I mean, with the internet now, you don't really need a cookbook. You just search up whatever in the fuck you want to cook. The other night, we cooked up well, I didn't cook it up. KC cooked up a really delicious soup, broccoli cheddar soup. It was last night. It was awesome. And I mean, we looked it up. So you don't really need a good cookbook. You just need to have the will to actually cook, which not everybody does. And that's perfectly fine. But unlike me, this woman right here thinks that women don't need college. They don't need to advance themselves in any kind of way other than read the Bible, pray to God, and cook me some fucking dinner, woman. Yeah. Casey is educated twice over and can cook dinner. So what of it? Next up on the comments comes from Twitter again. Although it's not to me. I just had it on my phone where I screen capped it. This woman says, I am not interested in evolution. But also, where did the apes come from? I'm sorry. You can't say I'm not interested in evolution and then ask a question that's explained by evolution. I mean, what am I supposed to tell you? Some magical magician in the sky snapped his fingers and then they grew out of the ground like they were fucking plants? Is that what I'm supposed to tell you? No, that's not how it happened, but evolution is how it happened. So you either got to be interested in evolution and want to know where apes come from, or you're not interested in evolution and maybe you should shut the fuck up. That might have been a little harsh, but I just I feel like I know a lot of people say there's no dumb questions. That was a dumb fucking question. Casey says there are dumb questions. Yeah, you want a mic? Anyways, next up is somebody that doesn't know how women's bodies work. This person says, I had a friend who didn't take my advice about only wifing virgins like the Israelites. Had a baby with this broad with 15 plus body count on her. The baby came out looking like a composition of the past 15 guys she fucked. Doctor said it had something to do with the sperm residue sticking to the vaginal walls. No doctor told you that. Your buddy Billy Ray told you that. Like, the guy down the street told you that that's how it works. Like, man, that baby was ugly. You know, it's because cum sticks to the inside of the vaginal walls, right? And then, like, all 15 sperm that she's been collecting invade the egg, and then they mix up all the DNA, so you get random DNA parts in the baby. That's how it works. I read that in a medical textbook somewhere. I'm telling you, yeah. See, it's this kind of shit that cause I don't know where this person got educated. Like, if anything, this is a plea for proper sex education in schools. Okay, any comment similar to this, where people just simply don't know how the human body works in general, this should be the one thing. It's like, why do we need good sex education? We just tell them not to fuck people until you want to get married. Oh, well, then you have shit like this right here that happens, where people think that if you're a bit promiscuous, apparently your vagina stores up sperm. It's sure to only collect one sperm from each person, though. Or maybe there's some kind of invisible reservoir up in there. I don't know, but obviously the more people you sleep with, the more mutated your baby is. KC says, because she doesn't want a mic, that this guy's never seen a vagina, and I have to agree. Oh, man. Next up on the comments, we got keep wearing your masks. Actually, that's a really good idea. Y'all should keep wearing your masks, because the dumbasses out there that aren't being vaccinated, while they are at the same time dropping like flies because they're dipshits, but also, this new Delta variant can actually, if you get infected with the Delta variant while being vaccinated, means that you won't become deathly ill, maybe just the sniffles or something that's just not too serious. You could still get seriously sick, but also it's able to reproduce enough in your body so that you could spread it to other people. So yes, wear your fucking masks. Of course, Genius comes in right there at the bottom saying, I got my vaccination 2,000 years ago when Jesus died on the cross for me. He is my protector! And my mask. I'm sorry. I don't think any amount of Jesus's scrotum sack taped to your face is going to prevent you from getting COVID. All right? He died, like somebody else dying is going to prevent you from getting COVID? Are you fucking serious? I don't get people like this, or the people that say, listen, I'm covered in the blood of Jesus, and that creates this force field around me that doesn't allow the COVID-19 to get in here. So I am protected by this shield given to me by the blood of Jesus. Yep. That's right, honey. They are definitely not protected from COVID-19. There are plenty of people that are covered in that Jesus blood shit that have gotten it and died. So my guess is that COVID doesn't really care about your blood smeared face with, I don't know. I think it's nasty to think, oh, some Jew died in the 1st century, therefore I can't get COVID. Where the fuck are you getting that from? Other than your preacher, priest, other Christians who think they're immune to disease? They're getting it from motherfucking Greg Locke. All right. That's right, honey. Fuck that guy. Last up on the comments, we got this genius saying, America is following the say they say more than the BIBLE. That's a problem. The motherfucking BIBLE. No.
What are you doing?
Jason sent a super chat. Oh, Casey blew her load. Jason just sent a super sticker laying on the floor laughing their ass off. Thank you, Jason. But anyways, that's not even, like, this right here is foolish to begin with. But the comments coming in after it are also pretty hilarious, okay? So, first of all, obviously, I love how the organization that spends, like, what is it, billions of dollars every single year studying diseases like COVID-19, developing vaccines, and developing all of this shit to help us survive and live out our lives. But they want to forego all of that knowledge and information from the CDC because of the fucking Bible. Because they got a book written in the 1st century. Gary White says, oh, that's genius. Know how to spell lol. Well, no, the comments right here. So the first one's just like, so true. Really angers me. I'm angered. Jason sent another super chat. Thank you there, Jason. Appreciate you. And then the final one's Chinese Disease Center. Here's what I don't understand is why are the Trumpers like really focusing on the Chinese? I mean, I get that like the first cases and everything were reported in China, and they think that the lab over there in Wuhan, developed it and everything like that, even though all of the scientific evidence suggests that it was not, and that it developed naturally in the wild. They're sticking to the whole idea that it's the Chinese. But now the conspiracy has widened to the Chinese taking over the CDC. Apparently, the Chinese government owns the CDC now, and I guess they're wanting people to wear masks for what reason again? Like, why? How would that benefit the evil Chinese government in the perspective of a Trumper? Like, how would that benefit? Like, do they think that the masks are hurting people? Because they're not. They're protecting people. They're preventing this disease from spreading. So, even if it was the Chinese disease center, it seems like they're giving out recommendations that would only help us survive this shit.
To Timothy, what the fuck ever? Shut the fuck up.
Daniel M says, okay, what the hell? There were two times I was trying to send a super chat and it doesn't say shit and doesn't send it at all. That's weird. YouTube's a fickle motherfucker on occasion. But anyways, that's gonna be it for the comments. I don't have any shitty ass science, so we're not gonna be visited by Bro Cephas. He's hanging out in his room that he convinced me to let him keep after this past week. So he's gonna be hanging out there. But we do have the actual video we're gonna be responding to, and it's gonna take a little bit tonight. Hopefully we can actually get through it pretty quick. So let's get on over there. Here we are. Just to remind you guys, a portion of all the super chats and memberships and everything like that is going to be going to Engineers Without Borders this month. We generally give to a charity every month, so if you want your thoughts to be read live on air as well as help us donate to charity, then consider sending a super chat. All right. Oh, looks like we got another super chat from Quentin Van Booven saying, finally home. No shitty ass science. I want a refund. I'm so sorry. No refund. May the power of Christ compel you to get the fuck out of here. No. Woo! That's KC's money. KC's money, that's right. All right, Neuter Dude says you gotta sing this one. Gotta sing this one, all right. I'm a little teapot, short and stout. Now I gotta pee. Thank you there, Neuter Dude. And then Daniel M says, anyway, I was going to ask, is BIBLE is supposed to be an acronym for something? I think they were just trying to spell out the Bible, but in acronym form so that it actually matched the CDC. But what they didn't consider is that they're a dumbass, and I doubt they actually thought out an acronym that would work with that. Although I'm sure that you could figure one out. But anyways, so before we get into the actual video, I did want to bring up a few good contradictions that you could potentially throw at somebody. So here, let me get this off the screen real quick. So basically, what boils down to a good contradiction in the Bible is something that could not be rationalized away with just the stupidity of the writer, right? Like for instance, with the genealogies of Jesus, you could rationalize that by saying, oh, well, one guy was a dumb fuck and he just misunderstood the genealogy, and that's how we have different genealogies. So, like, that's one way they can rationalize around it. Now, in reality, it is a contradiction if the Bible is supposed to be the inerrant word of God. If it is, then even the smallest contradiction is important.
Listen, donating this much money only secures your seat in hell.
I'll get to super chats here in a second, okay? But so if you're dealing with somebody who thinks that the Bible is inerrant, like always inerrant, then every single contradiction is a valid contradiction to bring up, okay? Even the ones that can be rationalized away with the dumb fuckery of the authors, okay? But there are some theological contradictions in the Bible that can't be easily hand-waved away. So, like, for instance, this first one that I have pulled up here is, does God love everyone? I mean, honey, do you think that God should love everybody in the Bible? I'm just talking like what you were taught as a child. Does God love everybody? Oh, the Bible doesn't teach God loves everybody? Okay. When I was being brought up, I was taught, apparently for KC, it's a hard no for her. But for me, growing up, it's a definite yes, that God loves everyone. God loves all the little children of the world, right? Jesus loves all the little children, whatever. Well, as it turns out, this is a theological principle that has a contradiction associated with it. So basically, in John 3:16, of course, it says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life." 1 John 4:8, "He that loveth not knoweth not God, for God is love." And then 1 John 4:16, "And we have known and believed that the love that God hath to us. God is love, and he that dwelleth in love dwelleth in God, and God in him." So that's, yes, I mean, he loves everybody unconditionally, but then there are also passages like Leviticus 20:23 that says, "And ye shall not walk in the manners of the nation which I cast out before you, for they committed all those things, and therefore I abhorred them." So this is an instance of God not loving somebody. You could argue that, like, oh, well, you know, that's that's the Old Testament, and so there's a new covenant, and that's where God loves everybody. But in Romans 9:13, this is from Paul. It says, "As it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated." So God, I mean, even Paul affirms that God does not love everybody, that he definitely hates some people, or at least he doesn't extend his love to some people based on who they are or something like that. So this is a decent contradiction that you can bring up. How about, does hell exist? I don't know how many of you out there were taught that hell exists in the Bible, but apparently the Bible is split on this. So of course, yes, God tortures people forever after they die. And so you got one from Daniel that's in the Old Testament, and then you got a whole bunch of New Testament stuff: Luke, John, 2 Thessalonians, Revelation. And then no, those that don't go to heaven just die. And that's pretty much like most of it's from the Old Testament. You do have Romans 6:21, which is Paul, who says, "What fruit had ye then in those things whereof ye are now ashamed? For the end of those things is death." So it's pretty much just reaffirming that if you know, you don't necessarily go to hell, you just die, and instead instead of getting everlasting life, you just die. Of course, there's, like I said, yes, with the burning and the gnashing of teeth and everything like that, but it's also contradicted, in other portions of the Bible. But you see, all of this is perfectly explained by the fact that there were multiple writers writing different theological structures, and when you put them all together, they're gonna be contradictory. Where the contradictions really come into play, as far as the Bible, like as far as Christian theology goes, is this whole idea that the Bible's inerrant, or that the Bible is God-breathed, even if you don't want to admit that or even if you don't think that the Bible's inerrant, you still think it's God-breathed. Like, that's where contradictions kind of come in, come into it. Maybe we can go over some more here in a bit, possibly. But let's get into this. We got Lisa for Truth that says, "We want Josephus." Sorry, I'll make sure that we have a Josephus segment for next week. But oh yeah, but the notifications are Josephus. So if you want to see Josephus, send more super chats, I guess. All right, let's get into this.
It doesn't take long to speak to an unbeliever before they start bringing up so-called contradictions in the Bible. Here's one, just an example. How did Judas Iscariot die? Well, if you read Matthew, it says this: "And throwing down the pieces of silver into the temple, he departed, and he went and hanged himself." Okay, Matthew's clear. He hanged himself. But then you read the book of Acts. This is Luke's account. And Luke says this: "Now this man," speaking of Judas, "acquired a field with the reward of his wickedness, and falling headlong, head first, he burst open in."
I believe that if we are honest with ourselves, that the most
I'm getting everything set back up, everybody. Hold on. my computer decided to blue screen. There we go. Okay. I'm not sure why it blue screened. I'm gonna have to look into what in the hell is going on with it, because this is the second time it's blue screened today. It might have to do with like heating. Might be getting too hot, but
It doesn't take long.
I'm not sure. Let's see if we can. Okay, here we go.
He hanged himself. But then you read the book of Acts. This is Luke's account. And Luke says this: now this man, speaking of Judas, acquired a field with the reward of his wickedness, and falling headlong, head first, he burst open in the middle, and all his bowels gushed out. I'm glad we already ate, right?
Okay, so thank you so much, Eric Hamion, for sending that super chat. Even though we are totally amateurish up in here tonight with the stream going down for a second. All right, so this particular thing is definitely a contradiction, because what we get from, I believe that was Matthew, maybe. Anyways, in one, Judas, he goes and he hangs himself. And in the other, he buys a field for some fucking reason, and then he throws himself off of a cliff, or I don't know, maybe he just sort of stands there and he falls down and then he bursts open. I'm not exactly sure how all that happened. But in any case, he threw himself down and he burst and his bowels fell out. These are two totally different ways for this motherfucker to die. Now, obviously, you could excuse some like missing like references and everything like that, or maybe he didn't say one thing or another. But the usual way that apologists, and he's not going to cover this right now. I don't know if he does it later on in the lecture. He just kind of brings this up and he never really addresses it from the stuff that I saw. But generally, how I see apologists like weaseling their way around this particular contradiction is the fact that, or is the idea that in Acts, what it's really talking about is he bought a field, and then he hung himself from a tree, and then he fell headlong, which I think means face first, right? I'm not exactly sure what, let me see, I could actually define it, right? I could not be such a plebe and define it. Let's see, define headlong. Headlong, with the head foremost. Yes, face first. So, head first. But head first in general, not necessarily face first. But in any case, so basically he's swinging up there on the tree, right? Dead. Of course, Jake Paul comes along and then he falls down, right? Except when he falls down, he doesn't just like drop with gravity and then fall forward. He the rope breaks, he does a twist in the air and then falls head first into the ground and then splits open. Is apparently how they reconcile this, which, I mean, maybe there's an apologist out there that can correct me on this, but it's my understanding that he hung himself and then he fell from the tree where he hanged himself from, or hung himself from, and then he burst open. And so that's generally how they get around that particular contradiction. But I mean, this is speculating a lot. This is combining two different accounts that were written so far apart that you really can't combine them, because Luke which the author of Luke, right? The author of Luke wrote Acts. But the author of Luke had Matthew, even copied directly from Matthew. He fucking knew what was in Matthew. He was correcting Matthew. That's what was happening. Like countless other places in the Gospel of Luke where he does something different than Matthew, he's correcting the account. But of course, we just want to hand wave this shit away, right? All right, let's continue. Uh-oh. Something on my computer turned on, and I'm not sure what it was.
Right? These two accounts of the death of Judas seem to be in conflict with each other. Many would argue that these are contradictory accounts. What do we say to something like this? This is what we're going to talk about tonight. Now, oftentimes, skeptics and atheists will make the claim that the Bible is full of contradictions. But when people make this claim, we as Christians, as clear-thinking Christians, shouldn't let that claim stand. Now, your impulse is going to be to say, no, the Bible doesn't have contradictions. That's going to be your impulse. What you need to do is ask a question. Someone says the Bible's full of contradictions. Your question immediately should be, can you give me some examples? Can you give me some examples?
Maybe you should.
How'd you come to that conclusion? Is essentially what you're asking.
So this is a really good question to ask. Can you give me some examples? Can you list some contradictions for me? And I mean, I don't expect anybody, because I certainly don't have very many memorized. I only have them memorized because I've had to bring them up so many times. But I don't expect anybody to have these memorized. Don't commit your life to memorizing shit like that, right? But in any case, you can go to, and I don't know if you guys want to like bookmark this or maybe open up another tab, but it's BibViz, that's BIBVIZ.com. That'll forward you to the new address for it, but basically that's what I had opened up where we were looking at all the contradictions. There are several places out there that have the contradictions, but that's got a pretty good aggregation of the three major sites that list contradictions in the Bible. Okay, but if you go to bibviz.com, then you will be provided with a graph for one where you can dynamically select which contradiction you want. You can sort them out. You can see a whole bunch of different things in there. They've got a whole bunch of lists as well, like misogyny and stuff like that. I would bookmark that or something like that in case anybody's like, hey, can you give me some examples? And then you go there, you find a good example, and you can give it to them right off the bat. And I think it's just as valid to do that as it is to have it memorized, because the information is still going to be the same. But in any case, Dragon Master 0118 says Judas was so good at gymnastics he could do it even when he was dead. Fuck, that Judas was awesome. Anyways, all right. So some examples. All right. Well, we went through two already. Let's see. How about this example right here? Is that gonna pull up? No. There we go. All right, so this is, does God lie? Now, obviously, God's not going to lie, right? In the Bible, God doesn't lie, correct? Well, it seems like there's two different answers to this, and one is no, and one is yes. Therefore, confirming a contradiction, because you can't answer it both yes and no, and it not be a contradiction. So you've got several verses here, and if you want to read through them, you can pause if you're in either case, I guess, live or not. You can pause and read through them, and you can read the context of them. Another good thing about this BibViz site is actually you can click on a link that's right there that says view context, and it will take you to the context, and you can review it in several different versions and everything like that. But anyways, no, God cannot lie and does not lie, right? But then also, God definitely fucking lies. So, like, a good one is for 1 Kings 22:23. Now, therefore, behold, the Lord hath put a lying spirit in the mouth of all thy prophets, and the Lord hath spoken evil concerning thee. So, not only does God lie, but he also gets spirits to lie for him. 2 Chronicles 18:22 says, now therefore, behold, it's Chronicles, it's the exact same fucking thing. Jeremiah 4:10, then said I, Lord God, Surely thou hast greatly deceived this people in Jerusalem, saying, Ye shall have peace, whereas the sword reacheth unto the soul. So, I mean, like I said, you can pause and you can read all these. You can even go and read the context if you go to the website and look up Does God Lie on the website. But basically, yeah, there are good contradictions, and these are things that you can't just easily hand wave away.
Most people who make the claim, this is from my own experience, if you're face-to-face with them and you say, can you give me some examples? It's full of them? Okay, give me 10. You won't get one, okay? You won't get one. That's if you're face-to-face. Now, if you try that on Facebook, if you try that on Twitter, what will happen is they won't know, but they'll go to Google, Bible contradictions, and they'll find thousands.
Nobody tell Tim about smartphones that can look shit up on the internet when you're face to face.
It might cause him a bit of a panic there. So if you bring up how the Bible does have contradictions, I definitely would prepare yourself with at least one or two. Now, we've given 3 here tonight, but this is also the second option, which is, online, and that's where I could go to Google and look it up. Well, I go to BibViz and I look it up there. But in any case, whether you look it up on Google or you just know it right off the bat, it doesn't matter, because they still have to deal with these contradictions. And every apologist that I've seen that has, hand waved away contradictions of the Bible, they always pick the worst things that are contradictions that only apply to the most fundamental of worldviews, right? That the Bible is the inerrant word of God. God wrote the Bible, whether it was through man or not, doesn't matter. These are God's words and it cannot be wrong. Well, under that idea, it is definitely wrong in plenty of places, and you open yourself up for any of the smallest contradiction out there to give you a problem. Because if it is the inerrant word of God, then there should be no contradictions. But of course, Tim is going to tell you how that you can hand wave it away, how you could just say, no, not a contradiction. And then it's like a magic trick. Like, you see your contradiction? Oh, it disappeared. Fuck.
Thousands. Let me show you a few of those in a minute. Now, we need to be careful to define what we mean by a contradiction. The word gets thrown around by unbelievers when talking about the Bible all the time. But we need to distinguish between a genuine contradiction, which cannot be resolved. It's impossible to reconcile. And a mere difference, which is possible to reconcile. Okay, so the difference between a contradiction and a difference. One can be reconciled and one can't be. Now, to illustrate this, let me tell you about the Titanic. In 1912, the Titanic sank. Big boat, 800 feet long, and eyewitnesses who saw the boat sink had conflicting testimonies. Some eyewitnesses said the boat sank in one piece. Other eyewitnesses said it broke in two and then the two pieces sank. How you can get this wrong, I don't know. But these are contradictory accounts that cannot be reconciled. Okay.
Right. This is a good example of a contradiction. This is contradictions in eyewitness accounts, right? Although Right. It does go to show how eyewitness accounts can't be 100% reliable, right? Also, though, his whole depiction of how the Titanic sank was a bit fuckered, okay? Because, like, here's a Titanic, and he animates it like it's split in two, like in the middle, down towards each other, and then they both sank at the same time. No, motherfucker, it was like this. It got hit in the front part of the ship. The front part sank, and it went down like that, and it started going down as one ship, but the ass was too big. It was a thick bitch. And so it broke in two, and the other part slammed, and then it eventually got drug under with the rest of the ship. So I mean, your animations isn't historically accurate, but also the contradictions are easy to explain here because you had people in different spots. It was also like in the middle of the ocean, in the middle of the night, with really only the moonlight to light up the area and everything like that. So there were some people that were literally too close to the ship to see that it broke apart or whatnot, and so that's why the two different accounts exist. It's very easily explained, why there were contradictory eyewitness accounts, but nothing in the Bible comes close to not like this is a good example of the good contradictions that exist in the Bible. These are things that are from two different perspectives, right? And only one perspective can be correct. Just like with Judas, he either hung himself or he bought a field, fell down in it, and exploded for whatever reason. Like, those are two contradictory things. He did one or the other. But he's about to tell us how he can get past it. Now, one part that I did cut out was that he gave an example of a difference that's not a contradiction. That was basically that I think his mom called him and said, "Oh, hey, I won this prize." And then when his mom was telling somebody else about it, it's like, "Oh, this guy came to the door and he live streamed me getting this prize." And he's like, and that's not a contradiction. I would agree, because just like if you had asked all the eyewitnesses, did the ship sink? Yes, the ship sank, right? And it's when you get into the nitty-gritty details about how it sank, do you come to the contradictions. But he's gonna act like every single contradiction, even the hard ones that are not like just differences that are contradictions, he's gonna act like are his mom getting this prize and everything like that.
Okay, so that's an example of a contradiction. So many of these alleged contradictions that arise because we apply an unfair standard or expectation to the Bible. Okay, what can happen is we just assume that.
Wait, hold on. Do we though? Like, do we have an unreasonable expectation? I mean, we're not the ones that set up the Bible to be the inerrant word of God. We're not the ones that set up the Bible to be God-breathed. We're not the ones that did that. We're just following y'all's rules on this. Y'all's rules are the Bible is 100% true from Genesis all the way to Revelation. 100% true. Historically true and true to reality. Now, if you have shit that's a contradiction, either in theology or in history, then yes, we have a valid contradiction. It's not just something that we're importing from modern times. This is just simple. Read it, and it's like, well, it can only be one of these motherfuckers. Which one is it? It can't be reconciled. But fuck me if he doesn't attempt to reconcile it.
What can happen is we just assume that the biblical authors wrote just as we do today in the 21st century. And then we end up applying our 21st century standard to in the case of the New Testament, a first century document. And that would be a gross mistake. In fact, listen, most claims of Bible contradictions stem from the reader misunderstanding the author's intent.
Yeah, sure, Tim. You know what is a gross mistake? The Catholic Church. That's a gross mistake.
in this lesson, this is how most contradictions, alleged contradictions, come out. It's the reader who misunderstands the author's intent. Sometimes they misunderstand it, sometimes they just misrepresent it, okay?
Oh, yes. Misrepresent the author's intent or misrepresent what's actually in the Bible. Okay, so let's I feel like it's time for another contradictions with GE. How about this one? Does the blood of animal sacrifices take away sin? Honey? Does the blood of animal sacrifices take away sin? No? What about in the Bible? In the Bible they lay out how the sacrifices erase their sin, right? Well, I'm talking about within the context of the theology of the Bible. Yes, definitely. Well, you would both be right and wrong there, honey. Because, yes, of course, in the Old Testament, that is how they resolved sin. But you get to Hebrews in the New Testament, and I doubly checked this. I went and I read the context. In Hebrews, whoever wrote Hebrews is saying that the animal sacrifices never absolve sin whatsoever. So, it just seems like it's a bit of a theological problem there. I don't feel like I'm misrepresenting anything because it's very obvious in the Old Testament, God definitely wants you to mutilate cattle and sheep, bulls, all this other shit. Like he wants you to mutilate those things in order to absolve your sin. And the entire reason for the New Testament is to provide one sacrifice, one blood sacrifice that will prevent all these animal sacrifices, and it replaces it. But for the author of Hebrews, that's because the animal sacrifices just never took away sin whatsoever. Of course, Tim is on a video right now, so he's not able to really respond to me and hand wave away that particular contradiction. But the fact is that contradiction is there.
That can happen too. So the error stems in the reader, not the author.
It's definitely the author, Tim.
Some of those false expectations are things like what you see on the screen. An author selects some facts, they take that to mean a denial of things they didn't select.
It's not really a denial of those things, it's just merely they didn't say that. Like if I said I drove home from Papa John's. Okay. So you drove home from Papa John's. Is that denying that you nearly ran over a small girl? or is that denying that you went there in the first place? Did you just appear there or something like that? It's not selectivity. It's not saying that somebody is denying it. It's saying that they are not saying it. I feel like it shouldn't be as subtle of a difference as it is, but it's kind of like if somebody tells you something and then you bring in something that they definitely did not say, then it's like, I didn't even say that. What the fuck are you doing? It's not a denial. It's just, it's just not saying it. So, I feel like that's important. If we have, like, for instance, one thing that would match this particular thing is Paul and where he got his sources from. We know from Paul, from his epistles, that he got his information through visions and scriptures. Now, he would say that that's me saying that Paul denies getting it from any human person, which he does do. But when he talks about where he got his sources from, he only mentions scripture and shit. But he would hand wave it away.
Drinking all that beer, GE.
But he would hand wave the issue away and said he definitely got it from human sources. So I don't know. I don't see it as saying, hey, they're denying that they did this. I'm saying, hey, they didn't say this shit. Like, I mean, it's plain as day. All right, let's see what else he's got.
We'll look at those. For an author to be accurate, they must also be precise. That's a false expectation. Ordering events has to always be chronological. That's a false expectation.
Okay, so in the Gospels, they're trying to tell a story. If they're not being chronological with the story, then they should give us some kind of indication that they're not being chronological. Like, they should tell us, oh, but before that, he did this. And it's like out of order, but it's clearly trying to help you orient yourself to place it in order, in a sequential type of order. And then the whole accuracy is precise. I don't expect anything to be all that precise, especially with these eyewitness testimonies. But when you have two completely contradictory things being said in the Bible, and the Bible claims to be 100% accurate, we expect precision. If you're going to claim 100% accuracy, I'm going to expect it to be 100% accurate.
That's a false expectation. Time compressing a story or summarizing a story is errant.
Well, now, so the compression idea in the Gospels is the reason why it's errant isn't because just the fact that it's like quote unquote time progression. Paul the Potato said, "May the power of Christ compel you to get the fuck out of here."
Maybe you should quit drinking all that beer, GE.
Damn, Satan got the exorcism there. Satan's little helper says you're on Satan payroll. but I gotta say that's countered with Brocephus exercising your ass. So I don't know. I feel like I'm not on Satan's payroll anymore. Paul the Potato says 50 hours. I wish I had been working 75 a week since 2019. I guess good for you, Paul. I'm glad that I don't work 75 hours a week. Well, I mean, I guess if you count like the channel stuff and everything, I probably work about that much too. So, all right. So the compression is inerrant because you speculate that it's compression. Like, in order to make the Gospels work, they have to say, oh, this is time compression. Like, this is they call it telescoping. Like, they're telescoping this. And so it goes into a big long explanation when he gets to that point in his presentation, but essentially it's pure speculation that there's any time compression going on, for as far as I can tell. Now, maybe I just haven't researched that enough, but what it seems like to me is that there is no time compression going on, and that's just an apologetic made up by apologists so that they can skirt around the fact that the Gospels present 4 completely different stories about Jesus.
That's a false expectation. And
2 Timothy, what the fuck ever? Shut the fuck up.
Ooh. Satan's little helper says, yes, my body is burning agony from the sexism.
mysteries in the Bible, real mysteries in the Bible, are irreconcilable. That is a false expectation.
I don't know how that would be a false expectation. Like, I think maybe he explains it. Hold
okay.
on.
So let's look at some of these.
Oh, fuck no, he doesn't.
So helpful principle. Number 1, the first false expectation that leads people to believe there's contradictions in the Bible is that selection or omission is a denial.
All that beer, GE.
Hellbound Hillbilly says this guy's working harder to tell us there's no contradictions than I did to make this money. Thank you so much there, Hellbound Hillbilly.
It shouldn't need to be said, but authors can't write everything, right? They have to select from certain things.
Wait, authors can't write everything? Like, I mean, what are you fucking talking about here? If the Gospels are supposed to be biographies of the life of Jesus, wouldn't you expect them to like mention a few things like all the time, like Jesus and the pigs? Like, let's see what Bible verse, Jesus, pigs. Let's see, Mark and Luke. Matthew, Luke sends demons. Matthew and Luke apparently have the demons. Sends demons into the pigs. Matthew and Luke apparently are the demon pig ones. So like I'm just saying, like there are several things in here that you just can't hand wave away like this. You should definitely expect, like, if you're writing a biography, for that biography to cover that person's life, may not completely 100% in total, like on the third day of the 5th June of the third year, he had eggs. Like, I'm not talking about that kind of thing. I'm talking about important events that happen in his life. Those things should all be the common things that every single gospel reports. And if there was one true gospel, then there would be no need for other gospels. There would be no need for other points of view. But you see, the problem is that they all had different ideas about what Jesus supposedly did. Because he didn't really exist. Just gonna throw that out there. All right.
Select from certain things. They select what they write. Even John admits this in his own gospel. John at the very end, chapter 21, verse 25 says, "Now there are also many other things that Jesus did. Were every one of them written, I suppose that the world itself could not contain the books that would be written."
Fair money.
Thank you, Satan's Little Helper says, "No need to wonder if the Bible is supposedly correct or not. This book supposedly supposed to stop us from going to hell." I agree there, Satan's Little Helper. But so shit, I forgot what he said. Oh yeah. So I kind of feel like this is one of those situations where it's like, oh, there's scientific discoveries all over the Bible. There's just so many that I cannot name even one. And it's like, if there's so many that you can't even name one, it sounds like to me that there are none at all. And if there were so many stories that could be written about Jesus, why didn't they write them? Like, I'm not just talking about John. Like, sure, John's looking to tell a specific thing in his gospel. But, there are countless other authors in antiquity that write volumes upon volumes of motherfuckers. Okay? Like, they write so much about all the shit these people did. And you're telling me that he did so many things, that so many books could be written about him, but nobody decided to write anything else about him ever. At all. As far as his life on earth goes, that nobody felt like there's a lot, but there's also none. If that makes sense, at all to you there. There's a lot, but there's none. Yeah, it makes sense if you're dumb as fuck.
Hyperbolically, but you get the idea. There's lots of things we couldn't put in the book, right? The author selects the content that's relevant to his purpose. When the author selects certain events to record, he has to leave out other things.
Why? I mean, did they have like a word count that they were wanting to hit for each one? Like, was Mark limited to the number of words that he used? What were any of the Gospels limited in any capacity? Like, oh, he couldn't write about all these fucking miracles. Why not? Well, I mean, That's what a good like historian would do. I mean, every single time Jesus reached up the asshole of some guy on the street and cured his prostate cancer, I mean, it should have been written down like, oh shit, yes, another one for Jesus. He cured that prostate. I mean, he wore him like a puppet, but I mean, he's cured of prostate cancer. Neuter Dude says they did not write about Jesus because they couldn't find a good Wi-Fi signal at the Starbucks. Ah, fuck!
May the power of Christ compel you to get the fuck out of here.
I knew that was why. But I like how at the very beginning of this video, he's like, the first thing you need to do is, can you list some examples? You know, why? Why do you think this? And then he goes on throughout this entire presentation. It's 50 minutes long, but he goes throughout his entire presentation, and he's like, they couldn't include everything about Jesus. Why? I mean, it's not like they were hard up for, you know, paper or something like that. I mean, Luke, the author of Luke, not only wrote Luke, but also wrote Acts. I mean, it's not that they didn't have like the papyri to fucking write on or the knowledge or ability to write about everything that Jesus did. Like, I feel like you should at least mention these things. But of course, he kind of reveals the fact that they're not recording history or anything like that when he tells us that, oh, the gospel writers had to leave out anything that didn't meet the purpose of their writing. And so it's not that they left it out. It's that they were crafting a narrative and they were writing it in such a way to convey that narrative. And so they didn't need these other things. They only needed to focus on those things. So it's not that they were writing history, they were writing theology. Lucrezio Cosplay says, do you think doctors
May the power of Christ compel you to get the fuck out of here. 2 Timothy, what the fuck ever, shut the fuck up.
Lucrezia Cosplay says, do you think doctors get annoyed when people thank God for being cured instead of thanking them? I think some doctors do, especially nowadays, I would think, because, you know, there are people, you know, thanking God, praising God and everything like that. And it's like, you know, the entire hospital staff is like, well, what the fuck did we do? Should we have just let them die in the waiting room because maybe their God would have strolled by to save them? Instead, my ass had to save them. I mean, I don't know. I could see it both ways. I could see how some would be very annoyed by it. And then I would definitely see how others would think that God gave them the ability to save them. So.
2 Timothy, what the fuck ever, shut the fuck up.
Quentin Van Booben says, didn't leave a comment. I will make GE now say indexing at 1 is correct and Star Trek is better than Star Wars. That's 3 for Star Trek. And KC is only right 65% of the time. Apparently, she says that's bullshit there, Quentin. Jason Kolosek, sorry. Jesus was short on paper. What about Jesus and the poison ivy wipes? That's a good one. All right, let's continue.
He has to leave out other things. That's just the nature of being an author. And so one of these kinds of stories that affects this particular principle, what we can use this principle for, is the description of the women discovering the empty tomb. How many women discovered the empty tomb? Was it 1, 2, 3, or more? Depends which gospel you read, right?
Yes. So this is one of the bigger contradictions that's actually a contradiction. And I'm kind of curious as to how he's going to try to get around it. So basically, depending on which gospel you read, you get different versions of how the tomb was found by these women. You get different numbers of women. You get different women altogether that are visiting the tomb. And so basically, you can't just assume things, right? You can't just assume that that they are only focusing on one particular group of women, and that, you know, the others were really there. They just didn't mention them, right? That's speculation. That's an ad hoc explanation for it, right? What you have to do is look at each gospel in their context, okay? So I'm going to let him go through his presentation, but I just want to let y'all know how I see this. So Mark is the first one that's written, right? So he's got his group of women, right? And or woman. I can't remember exactly the number right now. Like I said, I don't have this shit memorized yet. But anyways, Mark has one group of women. Then Matthew, using Mark, comes in and corrects Mark and has a different group of women. And then Luke, having both Matthew and Mark, comes back in and was like, nah, all y'all got this shit wrong. This is how it really happened. And he provides a completely different group of women. And then John comes in and he's like, all y'all motherfuckers are stupid. Jesus is definitely conservative. He was shooting his guns in the air. Fuck yeah, I'm God. And then this entirely different set of women, not entirely different, but like different in the sense that it was not the same as the other groups of women. This is the real group of women that came and found the tomb. So it depends on which Bible you read, because each Bible or each gospel has a different version of events. And this isn't easily reconcilable. You can't just speculate shit away. You actually have to deal with this particular contradiction, because only one of them can be right.
So the Apostle John, he names Mary Magdalene specifically in John 20, verse 1. He says this, now on the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene came to the tomb early while it was still dark, and he saw the stone had been taken away from the tomb. Now, this is actually a literary device. It's they apply it in Greco-Roman biographies. It's called spotlighting. John is zooming in. You guys have probably been to a play before. They got the spotlights going. There could be lots of people on stage, but the spotlight is on one person. Remember.
Okay, so a note on spotlighting. I don't know all that much about the use of spotlighting in other Greco-Roman biographies and everything like that, but I mean, that's besides the point. The fact is that this is supposed to be like a historical account of the tomb being found empty, right? And you cannot import information from other Bibles or other Gospels, because each Gospel was written for the community that it existed within. It was only later that the Christian community, like on the whole, adopted these four Gospels, right? But in any case, so you cannot say that, like, oh, we know who else was with Mary, or there were other people that were with Mary. You have to have something concrete from John that says other people were with Mary. And so right now, as it exists, we just have Mary Magdalene that we know. Supposing that anybody else was there with her at this point is pure speculation.
Remember, selectivity, selection is not a denial. That's our first principle. John selects Mary Magdalene, but that doesn't mean he's saying that there's no one else there. There's no other women.
Well, right. He's not saying there was no other women there with her, but he is also not mentioning that there were other women there with her. And so you can't speculate that there were women there with her. All you know is that Mary was there.
When you read the next verse, this is what it says. Very interesting. So she ran and went to Simon Peter, the other disciple, speaking of John, the one whom Jesus loved, and said to them, they have taken the Lord out of the tomb.
You should quit drinking all that beer, G.E.
Jake 4D says, what if each gospel refers to a different tomb? Then each group of women is true and simultaneous. Well, true. I mean, that could be the case, but I mean, considering that the tomb that's mentioned is the same tomb in all four gospels that supposedly housed Jesus's body, Like, I mean, there is some sharing between the women. Like, Mary Magdalene appears in a lot of the accounts. Jesus's mother appears, and there's some other women that are specifically named. So, I mean, unless Mary Magdalene had like a copy, then of herself going to these other tombs too, then I guess it could be true. But still, all that's speculation, just like he's trying to speculate here.
They have taken the Lord out of the tomb, and we do not know where they have laid him. Who's the we? Mary, who's the we? John, who's the we? It's the we is the other women. So let's just put some women on the screen. Okay.
Now, I'm not all that great at English, but honey, does that sound like the we in that passage is talking about this idea that there were women that went with her? Well, it says, now on the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene came to the tomb early, while it was still dark, and saw that the stone had been taken away from the tomb. So she ran and went to Simon Peter and the other disciple, the one whom Jesus loved. Actually, that's Lazarus, not John, son of Zebedee. And said to them, they have taken the Lord out of the tomb, and we do not know where they have laid him. Right. That's my point. Right. No. Right. Right. So we don't know who this we is. He's speculating that it's talking about other women. He's importing information from the other gospels. But you see, the problem is that the Gospel of John definitely uses the other gospels. So he knows that the other gospels claim that other women went there. But he's importing that knowledge into this story, right? He's selectively taking that knowledge. What we get from John's writing is not that other women were with her. It's just that some ambiguous amount of people were with her. An ambiguous group of persons that came with her back from, even when she's running to the tomb, it talks about her in the singular. It was just her who met up with the other apostles. Or met up with apostles. But, so, I mean, he's just purely speculating that other women were with her.
So let's just put some women on the screen, okay? We don't know who those women are yet. Let's see who they are. Well, if we read the other gospel accounts, let's start with Matthew. Matthew says that Mary Magdalene and the other Mary were specific eyewitnesses of the empty tomb. It says this, now after the Sabbath, towards the dawn of the first day, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to see the tomb. He doesn't say only they went to see the tomb. He just names those two people.
I mean, he doesn't say that they were the only ones, but they are the only ones that he mentions. It's like if I say, well, hey, me and Bob went to the store, and somebody else says, oh, does that mean Jim Bob was with you? Or not, sorry, that's a little bit confusing. Does that mean Jimmy's with you? No, I didn't say Jimmy was with me. Why would you think Jimmy was with me? Well, you didn't say that he wasn't with you. It does. It does sound like a Christian thing to say, honey.
The tomb. He just names those two people, okay? There could be other women, so let's just put them up there for a minute.
There could be other women. So let's just go ahead and add the women up there like they were there from the beginning. Yes, it's convenient for him. And so, I mean, he takes it's possible to, like, let's just go ahead and put that there were women there. Like, it's just amazing the leap that they go through in order to get there. That's right, honey, it is bullshit. Oh, apparently she's playing a game and she's not doing too well.
Let's see what Mark has to say. Mark says this, when the Sabbath was passed, Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, another Mary, It's a lot of Marys, okay? And Salome brought spices so that they might go and anoint him. And very early on the first day of the week, when the sun had risen, they went to the tomb. So now we have Mary Magdalene, Mary, the mother of James, and Salome. But we already know that that other Mary is there too, according to Matthew.
See, this is where he fucks up, because Matthew was written significantly later than Mark. Mark does not say anybody else was with those three women. So you cannot import more information from a different gospel telling a different story into this story right here. It would be a lot like me reading Harry Potter and then taking some other different tangentially related story and trying to explain things in Harry Potter with that, right? Like, I don't know. I can't think of any good movies that take place in Britain. Fuck it. I can't think of any right now, but you get what I mean. Like he's taking something that was inspired from the original work. Notting Hill. Okay. It's like using Notting Hill. Well, no, it's not exactly correct. I guess it would be a lot like using 50 Shades of Grey to fill in Twilight plot holes, right? Because it started out as a Twilight fan fiction. It would be somewhat similar to that. And so it's really quite ridiculous that what he's doing here. The fact is that Mark doesn't mention other people, so you can't say that he mentions other people. Well, I mean, you can say it, but it's fucked up to say it. Like it's definitely not correct in any kind of sense. You're right, honey. They haven't cared about making sense so far.
Two, according to Matthew, but maybe there's other women too. We don't know.
Well, that's right. You don't know.
Bear money.
There could be no other women there. There could be a plethora of there could be a gaggle of women. A whole gaggle of women that went to the tomb. But binders full of women went to the fucking tomb. And under your idea, any number of women, the entire population of women from Jerusalem went to the fucking tomb on that morning. Under Tim's explanation of this particular contradiction, that is totally plausible and is therefore probable. So just put them there. Put all the women there. But seriously though, speculating like this, I mean, what he's doing is he's using an argument from silence, but he's using it fallaciously. He's saying, oh, well, he doesn't mention these people, but that doesn't mean that they weren't there. It's like, well, you're right. Doesn't mean that they weren't there, but we also don't have any kind of fucking indication that they were there. At least in the view, like the point of view of Mark, we don't know about any other women. All right, we're getting close to the end. We gotta.
To Matthew, but maybe there's other women too. We don't know. Let's read Luke and find out. Luke's account doesn't conflict with the others, actually complements them by describing a larger list of women. Luke says this, but on the first day of the week, at early dawn, they went to the tomb taking spices that they had prepared. If you jump to verse 10, it says this. Now it was Mary Magdalene and Joanna. Where'd Joanna come from, right? No one mentioned her before. Joanna and Mary, the mother of James. So she was listed in Matthew as well. And the other women with them. The other women with them. So we already know who they are. At least Salome and that other Mary, right?
No, not right. Because in the view of Luke, who's correcting the previous Gospels before him, he is giving an accurate account. And the only women that we know that are there are this Jonna bitch from the other side of the tracks. We got Mary and then Mary Magdalene. Those are the three. He's correcting the other Gospels. And he's saying that, yeah, there were other women with them, but we don't know who. Hell, it could have been Becky. Or what about fucking Tiffany or some shit that went with them to the tomb? We don't know, but he's going to import the lists of the other gospels and claim that this is the full list. This is who he was talking about. And the author of Luke is just speaking ambiguously and is not giving us an indication that we know who else was there. From Luke's point of view, it was these three main women, and then just what are they called? Like the actors that are just in the shot to like fill the scene up. Extras. They're just extras. They're not important. We don't need to know who they are. Like it seems to me like that's what he's saying, and not that, oh, there were these other women that were there, and you can reference the other gospels in order to know who they are if you really care about that kind of shit.
They are, at least Salome and that other Mary, right? And so we have here a list of women. Again, there's no contradiction here. There's no contradiction. We have at least 5 women named specifically. There may have been more.
Well, yeah, no, there is a contradiction because you're having to import information from outside of the respective gospels in order to get this list that apparently reconciles all of them. And you're also assuming that like Mark was speaking about these other women when he gives no indication that he was. You're doing the same for Matthew, and you're doing the same for John. The only account that says that there were other women, other unnamed women, at least explicitly, is Luke. John kind of indirectly suggests that there were other women, but even in that context, we can't tell if the author of John is speaking about possibly other women that went to the tomb. Maybe there was an apostle that came in, or it could have been when she got back to the camp or wherever they were staying, and she met up with the other apostles, and then they came and talked to whoever in the fuck, and they were like, we don't know where he is. And she's talking about herself and the apostles. Like, that's totally possible too. But he makes the jump to, oh, that means there's other women, so I'm just going to put 5 more women up there, or 3 more, or whatever in the fuck. Possible, therefore probable. Bitches.
Woo! Bear money!
Lisa for Truth says, so he's pointing to other gospels when we're pointing out contradictions in the gospels. Yeah. He's got to merge them all in order to reconcile them. But the problem is that they don't merge all that well.
There's no contradiction. It's only a contradiction if you assume that selecting and naming individual women denies the other ones being there. Okay.
It doesn't though. And that's where we're ending it. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch back over here because I hate looking at Tim's face. So it's not that we're saying that they're denying it, but it's exactly the opposite. We're saying that they're not even referencing them. They're not even referencing these other women. They're just simply not doing it. And so you can't say that they are doing it when they don't do it. That's a far cry from us saying that they're denying it. We're just reading the words on the page and we're relaying what's on the fucking page. He can say whatever the fuck he wants. He's a goddamn apologist. Apparently there's no rules there. Anyway, Satan's Little Helper, so sorry. When I switched back to the main cam, the notifications were off because of the crash that the computer suffered. So, sorry about that. Your notification did not come in through. Satan's Little Helper says, we know there's not a lot of stuff in the Bible we can't find we cherry pick the verses, but trust me, this is the word of God. Oh, definitely. I trust you, Satan's Little Helper. But anyways, so what I take away from Tim's video tonight is that there are no contradictions in the Bible as long as you can use the argument from silence fallaciously, I might add, to assume that just because they're focusing on certain portions of the story, that doesn't mean that they're denying these other portions that do exist, but they probably definitely, happened. As long as you can, combine both of the stories in some kind of way, and you come up with, a list of women, if you will, for this particular one that satisfies all the stories. So obviously Mark was talking about not just the three women he mentioned, but also all the other women that were supposedly there. Who's Your Buddy says, using this guy's quote-unquote reasoning, there's nothing in the Bible.
May the power of Christ compel you to get the fuck out of here.
There's nothing in the Bible that says God isn't a shape-shifting fart from a super god. That's a good point. Using his particular logic, there's nothing that says that God isn't that. There's also nothing that says God isn't a eunuch. Which makes you kind of wonder, well, how did he impregnate Mary? Well, the Holy Spirit has got that big dick. What? Magic? Magic, not big dick. Big dick magic. I mean, the Bible doesn't talk about big dick magic except for the Egyptians, so everybody must have big dick magic, I guess. Yeah, let's just speculate about everything in the Bible. Hey, just because it doesn't mention it doesn't mean that it's denying it. Remember that when somebody brings this kind of shit up, because I'm betting that they'll want to deny some shit at that point. You start bringing up uncomfortable shit like whale penises and stuff, I'm fairly certain that they will deny the fuck out of it. Anyways, that's going to be it for the show tonight. We're about to go into the Skeptic Mafia comments. If you don't know, Skeptic Mafia are the memberships here on the channel. If you want to become part of the Skeptic Mafia and leave your thoughts on the Friday night videos, then definitely hit that join link and join the Skeptic Mafia today. And you too can have your comments read out live on the stream. I do appreciate everybody that has done a super chat tonight. You guys are all awesome. Thank everybody for sticking with me through all of the technical issues tonight. We're about to go, like I said, into the Skeptic Mafia comments. But if you're leaving out right now, why don't you smash that like button for me? It would really help me out. And if you're not subscribed yet, you should definitely subscribe, because, I mean, that's just the cool thing to do right now. Subscribe and you'll get more content from me that you never asked for. And if you will, please go out there, have a great weekend, and stand up and use your voice. Bye, heathens. But don't go, because we're going to be doing the Skeptic Mafia comments. So a lot of times in the Skeptic Mafia comments, people bring up things that I just simply don't think about. And so it's usually a good way for, people to point out things and to elucidate or edify us on certain stuff. So I really appreciate the Skeptic Mafia, putting in their 2 cents and everything like that. Let's see. Okay. Thank you, honey, for checking. All right, Xander's got to get to bed soon. He's probably dying downstairs in his bedroom. But let's see. Let's get to the Skeptic Mafia comments. See, I gotta. Nope, wrong. Alt. There we go. Okay. Gary White says, let me guess, a video about contradictions. He sounds like a condescending jackass. He doesn't have any clue or any answers on what he is speaking. Sounds like he is speaking gibberish or rubbish to me. Alex Baranowski, thank you so much there, Gary. I appreciate your comment. This guy has a condescending tone. Here's an example of contradictions I know. In one verse of Genesis, they got 7 of each animal, and in another, they got 2. Then we get into his Titanic story, but he's missing something critical. Humans told the story of the Titanic sinking, while the Bible is supposed to be the word is supposed to be the word of an all-knowing God. Is Tim one of those? The Bible is the inspired word of God, Exgens. I'm fairly certain he takes a very fundamentalist view of it. I haven't heard him directly say it, but I'm guessing that is probably his position, so you'd be safe to assume that. But do what you will. That's right, honey. He didn't say he didn't think that. Therefore, he probably does. Anyways, on to the next point of his video. I don't understand what he means by selectivity is denial. Is this like if I don't tell you I took a big shit this morning and it was yellow, I am not necessarily denying the taking of said shit? No, there was a weird part for Xander to walk in on right there, just to be clear. Well, not exactly. It would be like saying that you took a shit. You didn't say that like your pee was orange. So but you can't say that it denies that your pee was orange. Therefore, your pee was orange, right? So that's kind of the logic that he's talking about there. Precision and accuracy aren't the same thing. Precision is how close data are to each other. Accuracy is how close data are to reality. I don't know of anyone who expects ordering to be chronological. As long as you make it clear what the chronology is, you don't have to tell the events in order in which they happened. For example, today I moved my fern out of the greenhouse after work. Prior to this, I had let the dog out and had some Red Bull. After the Red Bull did its magic and woke me up, I pinned some dead insects at work, and then I searched for some tree hoppers. After I had taken my fern out of the aforementioned greenhouse, I saw my friend and showed her my hatchling geckos. These geckos hatched during the last week of last month. I don't feel like getting into those last two expectations. Yeah, so you provide a pretty good example. I tried to provide a somewhat similar example, but yeah, that's exactly... we don't expect it to be in chronological order, but if it's not in chronological order, we should expect there to be an explicit reference to how it's not chronological. Especially when you're writing a biography. Also, what's with this weird zapping lines in the video? Oh, so I wanted to make it very clear that I was cutting clips out of a larger piece. And so I wanted it to seem like, there was a glitch and it jumps to another portion of it. I wanted a cue that would give you the indication that something happened and this isn't necessarily directly following the previous section. That's all. Sorry I didn't specify that in like the description or something. I won't make this comment too much longer, but I will say I'm shocked it's already Friday. I'm moving to Colorado on Tuesday, and while I should be packing, I'm going to relax tonight and watch a stream. I may not make it next Friday since I will be arriving in Colorado then. Looking forward to seeing everyone tonight. Don't forget to wash your damn hands. That's pretty cool there, Alex. I'm glad that you're moving. I'm assuming that the move is something that you wanted. So I'm really glad that you were able to do that. Awesome. Drew's book review says clear-thinking Christians should not let contradictions stand. A clear-thinking person would recognize a contradiction and disregard it as something that is false, or at least you would try to figure out which one is correct. And if you couldn't, then you can't say that you know the truth about it. You could just say you don't know. I think Terry Goodkind might have put it best. So I will just let this quote from Chainfire from the Sword of Truth series of books explain it. It just covers this idea so much better than I could. Wizard's ninth rule states a contradiction cannot exist in reality, not in part nor in whole. It's good. To believe in a contradiction is to abdicate your belief in the existence of the world around you and the nature of the things in it. Sorry, I thought the not in part nor in whole was like a pun or something. I don't know. I feel a little dumb now, I guess. Your belief in the existence of the world around you and the nature of the things in it. To instead embrace any random impulse that strikes your fancy, to imagine something is real simply because you wish it were. A thing is what it is itself. There can be no contradictions. Faith is a device of self-delusion, a sleight of hand done with words and emotions founded on any irrational notion that can be dreamed up. Faith is the attempt to coerce truth to surrender to whim. In simple terms, it is trying to breathe life into a lie, trying to outshine reality with the beauty of wishes. Faith is the refuge of fools, the ignorant, and the deluded, not of thinking rational men. In reality, contradictions cannot exist. To believe in them, you must abandon the most important thing you possess, your rational mind. The wager for such a bargain is your life. In such an exchange, you always lose whatever you have at stake. There is also the 10th rule, which I think I would apply as well, again from Terry Goodkind's Sword of Truth series. Willfully turning aside from the truth is a treason to oneself. The truth is what should motivate your life, not the lies, or you will fall victim to the first rule. And if you ignore the truth, you're betraying everything that you believe in, because the lie is more convenient to you than reality. Anyway, heathens, until next time, keep on reading. Now, is the first wizard's rule to not talk about the wizard's rules? I'm just kind of curious if it follows Fight Club at all. Anyways, Jonathan Nickel. As an unbeliever, as Tim calls me, contradictions in the Bible don't concern me all that much. I am not concerned about whether or not the story disputes itself. I would be more interested in whether or not the book can be shown to be an accurate account, in that it fails. However, as incurious as I am, I will try at what Tim, nice but sorry, wrong character maybe, says. There is a character in a UK comedy sketch called Tim, nice but dim. He asked, can you give me some examples after having just demonstrated one? Oh, sorry. I've heard apologists say that Judas fell headlong before he was hanged. But I don't see entrails leaving the body as a condition that is easily survived. It is curious he never tries to resolve this particular question. The reason people won't find contradictions when confronted, but will when asked online, as the difference between being put on the spot and being able to research your answer. That is why those man on the street interviews where they shove a microphone in an unsuspecting person's face, I'm looking at you, Ray Comfort, can seem so effective on the surface. Dig under the surface and they are about as effective as farting into a hurricane. Eyewitness testimony is the least reliable form of evidence and is often contradictory. The question about whether the Titanic sank
all that beer to you.
in one piece or broke apart was resolved the moment they discovered the wreckage. Can they produce evidence of this standard to resolve any of the contradictions in the Bible? No. Because you can't find any kind of historical information about like shit in the Bible. The only contradiction he seems to address is how many people saw the empty tomb, and he makes it appear each time that no account claims that more people weren't present. I do feel, though, that if other significant women were present, the other Gospels would have named them. I have heard it said that there are hundreds of contradictions in that book, and Tim goes out of his way to respond to the couple of examples he feels he can address. Could it be that the multitude of conflicts he hasn't resolved are beyond him, so he deliberately ignores them? Well, he doesn't mention them, but he's not denying that they're there. So that probably means that he definitely thinks that they're there. As I said at the start, though, what matters to me is not whether the Bible is internally consistent, but whether or not it can be shown to be accurate. Even if the storyline was clear and concise, it cannot be shown to be true. It is just a fable. That's right. Michael W. Roble says, I was hoping he was going to explain the differences between the two Judas stories. That one has got to be a real mind bender. Hey, Timmy, it's a work of fiction written by goat herders. There are bound to be mistakes. Lighten up. People are going to think you're a delusional, dishonest, irrational, disingenuous piece of shit if you keep this up. No offense. Thank you, Michael W. Roble. Zach Clark says, since we're on the topic of contradictions, I still haven't heard a good answer to whether or not an omnipotent God can create a rock that he can't lift. I mean, yeah, that would be a good thing for them to hash out there. I would think that God, if God can do anything, I guess he can do that, right? But then that means he's not all powerful. It's a pickle Rick. I've been watching a lot of Rick and Morty lately. Funny, Trickster says, how he only uses an observation of how many women and who the women were who were at the tomb. Why didn't he go a little further and explain the contradiction of whether or not the stone was rolled away or not? In one account, the stone is rolled away, and in another account, the stone has not been rolled away yet. How about the fact that in one account, there was a young man in the tomb that was already open, and in another account, there was an angel sitting on top of the stone that had yet to be rolled away. In that one, that son of a bitch sitting on top of the stone magically just yeets it out of the way and opens it up and is like, listen, he's not here. Fucking go elsewhere. Is basically what the angel said. Way too much wrong in his presentation to list without writing a short book. I ain't got time for that. Thanks, Trickster. Like, subscribe, and share. Hey, when I have as much fun as we have, all you gotta do is hit that join button to become a Skeptic Mafia member, and GE will give you a lot of cool stuff in return, including a cool badge to show everyone in chat that you're one of us. You also get to vote on the video that we will watch on Friday and drop a comment on what you thought of the video. And this is still the only place where you can play with GE's 15-foot Whirlpede. Thank you so much there, Trickster. Y'all are awesome. Thank you so much for everybody that joined up today. Let's see. Satan's Little Helper says, we know there's not a lot of stuff in the Bible we can't find in cherry-picked verses. Oh, okay. Who's Your Buddy says, using this guy's reasoning, there's nothing in the Bible that says God isn't a shape-shifting fart from a super... Oh. Wait a sec. I think... Shit. Oh, there we go. Hold on. I was reading old super chats. Let's see. If you're wondering how I became Satan's Little Helper, I listened to people...
2 Timothy, what the fuck ever, shut
I'd
the
listen
fuck
to
up.
people, GE, so please let him as much as you can. Okay. Drew's book review says, lol, wizards' first rule, people are stupid. They will believe a lie because they are afraid it's true and or want it to be true. Oh, okay, cool. Let's see. Hellbound Hillbilly says, I didn't get time to make a comment this week, so here's another super chat to make up for that. Oh, thank you there, Hellbound Hillbilly. Quentin Van Booben says, is there ever going to be more member badges? Well, there's only one more, like, above where you're at, where you're at there, Quentin. Satan's Little Helper says, I would never use autocorrect again. Godless, Gary White's asking, where did you get your shirt at?
Maybe you should quit drinking all that beer, GE.
So, if you guys can't see, Certified Wokey. The design is by Uhan Roderick. And you can go to my Teespring store, which there should be a shelf down below. that you can click on. You can go there. Certified Wokey, I believe, should be in the store. Actually, I think you can go to store.godlessengineering.com and it'll actually take you to my store. Trying to get you to say it was a movie. There you go. Yep. Citation fucking needed. Yep, Certified Wokies right there. It's about middle of the page amongst all the other shit that's on there. Oh, and then right down at the bottom you got more versions of it. You can get to your heart's content. Certified Wokey. Ever gonna have beanies again? I do still have a few beanies. Shit. I went to back to comments. How the fuck did that happen? There we go. I was wondering why I was off to the side. I still have some beanies, and Teespring actually does have the ability to make beanies. So I'm when it gets closer to the winter, I think I may design up a beanie that people can get. The one that I have right now, I actually don't have one near me, but it just says Godless Engineer on the top. So I think that I'll end up doing something kind of similar to that. It'll either be that or just the GE symbol. I'm not sure yet, but if there's enough want for a beanie, I will definitely figure out a way to get y'all beanies, okay? But anyways, that's going to be it for me tonight. I really appreciate everybody turning out. I appreciate everybody that donated through the super chats and became a Skeptic Mafia member. Neuter Dude, I believe, is the one that became a member tonight. You guys are awesome. I will talk to y'all later. I really got to get down there and send Xander to bed because it's way past his bedtime. And I guess I will.
Maybe you should quit drinking all that beer, GE.
Quentin Van Booven says, put this towards the kegerator and nothing else. Okay. I've actually got a freezer up here, so I don't have a kegerator, not a freezer, refrigerator. Got a refrigerator up here. It's right back there beyond my green screen. But, you know, if you want to see a potential walk through the new house, the new setup, then you'll have to become a Skeptic Mafia member so you guys can see that. Neuter Dude says, I thought you were talking about Beanie Babies and not the hat. I can just see making a fat ass stuffed doll of myself as a bear. Anyways, guys, I gotta get out of here. I hope you guys have a nice night, and we will see you guys back on Monday for some more stupid shit from Christian apologists. So we'll see you guys then. Don't forget to stand up and use your voice. Bye, heathens.